sacred place where we discuss all things of earth and outer space, where we divine to pass the time, and no one can put us down or in our place. Grab your tea leaves or your spirits and gather around. The embers are glowing, warm flames abound. The hallowed hearth welcomes you now.
Hi, welcome back to the Hearth. I am Katy Wolf, one of your co-hosts every Thursday here, and we are so excited to have our guest and all of you tonight. As ever, I have my sisters, Haley Hansen, and joining us from another convention because she is on the move and people just cannot wait to talk to her is Rachel Ravensvale. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, darling.
Yes, another location. Tell everybody where you are tonight, Rachel.
I'm at Kingsport, Tennessee, and it is I'm like, oh. I'm like, where am I? Smoky Mountain Terror. I was like, where am I? Smoky Mountain Terror.
And people can still buy tickets to come and see you and all the.
Oh yeah, I think there
folks
are
over there?
still tickets. I think general admission. I don't know. I think VIP is gone, but
Wow.
general admission 3 days. So tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday.
Perfect.
Easy. We're so lucky to have you while we have a chance.
I know. You guys just kind of rolled in and then jumped on with us, which is amazing.
Do not message her on Monday. She's going to be
No.
out of commission.
We're
Yeah.
gonna be driving back. Yeah.
Phones
Like,
on do not
we get an
disturb.
hour back though, since we lost the hour coming.
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah.
I'm a
'cause
time
you came
traveler.
into our time zone.
Yeah, it's making the Eastern time.
Yeah.
Just for
well,
this.
before we bring on our guest, because I know we have so much to talk to him about, because he is amazing. Let's go ahead and pull our card for tonight. Who is feeling super in tune tonight? Haley. All right. Tell me when to stop.
Now.
The Page of Swords.
Ooh.
Curiosity. It says curiosity is a type of magic,
Agreed.
which I think so.
Yep.
So, my mind craves a new story, the page says, scouring the library for a new title. Can they even publish books as fast as I'm able to read them? The whole world feels limitless and open to her, and that's because it is. In a reading, this card can represent as intellectually inquisitive, or it can represent a very bright person who's just begun an undertaking that exercises the full extent of their brilliance. This card has starry-eyed student and aspiring author written all over it. Even if it's not representing an actual student in your life, the energy will be the same. If this is you, keep your mind and your books open, but remember to remain humble, because no one can ever possibly know it all.
Nice.
I just love that. I think a lot of what we do is that, letting people exercise their curiosity with in our universe that we know and that we don't. But our guest tonight is like an OG in this. He has been doing this for 40 years. He knows all the tools, the tricks, stories for days. So joining us tonight is Dave Juliano. Hi, Dave.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
course. So do you want to give us like your 30-second elevator speech?
It's not 30 seconds. It would take forever. So
That's okay. We have time.
what exactly would you like to know about? Give me a focus, then I can give you a 30-second little blip.
Tell people why your name sounds familiar, because for a lot of people it will.
Back in 1994, when the internet was just black and white, no pictures, nothing, just text. I started a website called the Shadowlands, and I was into cryptids and all that stuff. So I put up every possible topic, UFOs, but the ghosts. When I put that up, I did it for a personal reason because I was experiencing stuff, and there was nobody anywhere that you could go and talk to about that. You could read books, but there was no communication. So I put it up. I put my story up there, like the Reader's Digest version, and then asked people to, if there was anybody out there that could relate or wanted to share their story. And I think when me and Tina stopped updating it like 10 years ago, there was like 16,000 stories up there. Wow. And we probably had double come in. We just couldn't use a lot of them. But that totally blew me away. And the whole idea was it was a safe place where you could tell your story. No one was going to make fun of you. So it made us all know that we weren't alone. We weren't on that island all by ourselves. Now you have people you could talk with, express your fears, ask your questions. That's how I started, learning more. I got involved almost immediately with someone that was a local researcher in New York City for the Warrens. And he would come on the website and answer questions that I couldn't answer when people would email us. And then I just started, peppering him with questions. And, he would take us out doing investigations and, learning from, I learned backwards. Normally you don't learn from like the demonology aspect over to the normal stuff. I learned the wrong way. But, I guess there was a point to that now, was where I ended up in the demonology stuff. But that's the beginning of everything. Everything after that was that's a blur. Somehow I joined his group. I refused to go on negative cases, but since I experienced one and came out the other end okay, I would be like a client counselor, and I would talk to the people and help them through and be like that light at the end of the tunnel. Like I absolutely know what you're going through. I went through it too, and we can get through this, and then let the other people do their thing. Then I got involved with a group of people that were it's revitalizing a group that had been around since 1955, Ghost Hunters of America. And I didn't even know there were other groups out there, really. There was a lot spread across the country, but without social media, no one knew who they were unless you were local. But we started the group. We changed the name to be more inclusive, I guess, South Jersey Ghost Research. Had we known that we were going to be covering all of New Jersey, Delaware, New York City, and Pennsylvania, we probably wouldn't have picked the name. But back then, it seemed like that was a big area to cover. I've been a director, because we're got co-directors sometimes and sometimes not, for 27 years, 28 years. And somewhere along there, I started working with and talking to John Zaffis, who was like a mentor, Adam Bly, who's a religious demonologist, and they would help with cases. We would take cases that were too hard for us or that needed something more than we could give up to Connecticut to John's team. And if that, ended in exorcism or whatever, they would do all that. We were the middleman. And one day, remember, I don't want to do any bad stuff. I will never do that. And one day I was on a case with Adam Bly, and he's doing a deliverance on somebody, and I'm holding the camera, filming it. And next thing I know, watching the video clip, you can see the camera move around a little bit and shake. And there I am on camera holding the lady down, holding like a cross on her arm. And I'm thinking like, lots of things, lots of profanity in my head. Like, how do they get here? Because this is the last place I wanted to be, and now here I am. And apparently, that's kind of how it works. When people say there's a calling, even when you don't realize there's a calling, you can't just ignore it. You're going to get drug in no matter what. So everything I did along that path, including learning in reverse, starting out with the demonology stuff, having the experiences growing up, all that led me to, doing this. So that's what I primarily do now. I primarily work with the very bad stuff.
Wow. So for our viewers, can you give them your personal definition of what a demon is, and do they come solely from a religious lens, or is this something bigger than that?
Demons is kind of like ghosts, like a category.
Mhm.
And everything gets, ghosts, you got residual hauntings, you got, crisis apparitions, you got spirits of deceased, all that gets lumped under one category. Demons kind of, does too. I mean, elementals sometimes fall in that category for people having a lack of understanding of the diversity of everything. But even human spirits can temporarily possess somebody and make them do negative things. So that would fall in the criteria of the demon kind of thing. But for which people generally think of as demons is, they do go right to, Judeo-Christian, angels fallen, the creatures they create, all that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of it is whatever your understanding is and whatever your belief system is. I think there are, and we've had conversations about this in the community. We don't know if they're multi-purpose ones where like one day they'll go to a Jewish house, next day they're in a Christian house, then they go over to a Hindu house and they just wear whatever they need to wear for that particular person. Or are there dedicated ones for those religions? Because it's across the board. Every religion talks about these negative spirits in some extent. Some make it sound worse. Some make it sound, it's more, they're like chaotic neutral, kind of right on the line. But what I've experienced is I'll only do the cases that are my belief system. And since I'm Christian, I stick, with that. Even going over to a Jewish house, we can make the initial contact, but then they need a rabbi.
Yeah. And
you don't get to see what the rabbis do, so there's no participation at all. So that's as far as we're like the handoff. But that's where the lack of an ego kicks in. You got to know when, if you want to help the people, you got to know when to hand it off and get them help instead of standing there saying, "Hey, look at me, look what I'm doing," kind of thing. Which is,
absolutely.
Yeah, but there's far too many out there now that do that. But I've been involved with other religions. I was in whatever, I don't know what they call it. I was in some kind of exorcism with a Hindu woman. We actually had someone that was Hindu in our group that was doing work with us. And I don't know what they said because I don't speak the language. I know an apparition of an aunt that supposedly cast a curse on somebody appeared in the room with us. And, I was terrified because I'm totally out of, I'm out of my depth. I have no idea what's going on. I can't understand what they're saying. And there's a lady that wasn't here a minute ago in the middle of the room and she looks pissed. So just had to put that positive energy out there and be that, like, kind of set the space in the room and kind of hold that. But so that didn't follow any, Judeo-Christian rules. It seems there are rules to this, but they definitely only apply to whatever, I guess, type of demon. I've encountered jinn too, and jinn don't fall in that category either. So I mean, there's other deities there's other things out there beyond what we believe in. So I think every religion has their own class of demons, I guess is the best way to put it. If you're going to remember demons with the air quotes.
Yeah. Hi, Melinda. Awesome.
I wondered, Dave, after being 40 years investigating the paranormal, is there any experience that you've had that kind of just sticks out in your mind where like it changed everything you knew or thought you knew about the supernatural?
We used to do what a lot of groups do now, where someone calls, you go right out, you go to help them. And that was kind of what we did too. We wound up in a situation that went sideways. And I think everybody doing the paranormal should have an oh shit moment where they realize, oh my God, this is something that's beyond me, and I'm not comfortable where I'm at right now. And the lady was terrified. So we drove out there. We're hearing knocking and banging, and she's crying. The neighbor's there with her, and there's an anniversary of someone that killed their whole family in there, and today's the day. So she sent her family out for the day, and I'm taking her into the one room that we hear the knocking. So I walk her in there, and I'm like, say, it's just knocking. And not doing anything to us. It's just sounds. It might be scary, but it's not doing anything to harm you. Got her all calmed down. We were packing up and ready to leave because we decided we were going to have to come back and do an investigation. And all of a sudden, she was about 100 pounds and probably maybe 5 foot, if. And her eyes turned a different color. They turned all white.
Oh my gosh.
And she started picking up recliners, couches, ottomans with one hand and throwing them around the so I'm standing there, and I have about 5 foot space between me and another member, and the ottoman, a huge ottoman, comes flying between us. And that was my oh shit moment, because we were packing up, walking out the door, and all of a sudden this lady now is doing this. The neighbor was like 6 foot something. He put her in a full Nelson, and it was like tying a rag doll to like a bull. He was holding on for dear life. She trashed the entire house. The front door's open. There's kids playing outside, the neighbors and everything. And I'm thinking, they're going to hear this. They're going to call the cops. They didn't even look at the door. No one heard anything outside. So then I realized, we're like trapped in this little world with this thing, and I don't know what to do. So I usually do like the St. Michael prayer for protection. I couldn't remember it. I had to go over, pull the prayer card out of my bag and start reading it. We all we weren't prepared, and we shouldn't have been doing that kind of case. But I eventually just went over and splashed holy water in her face because I didn't know what else to do. And that worked.
Yay.
And then we got the hell out of there. And then put her in touch with John's group. But we learned something, that you can't just rush out to someone's house and do something. You know nothing. Now we talk to them, we have them fill out a questionnaire. Then we go and meet with them in person to go over the questionnaire and learn a lot more. But we get to see body language and interaction between people, get a feel for the rooms, and then we decide what to do. Because at that point, we have history of the people. We know a lot more background of what's happening. We know more about the people themselves and the location. So now we can make a more educated guess on what we're going to have to do and be prepared. And we realize that should be done on every single case, no matter what it is. So you go in with an idea of why you're there and what you're doing. Because a lot of cases don't mean that we have to do anything at all. Someone who's sensitive that doesn't realize how sensitive they are, and suddenly they start connecting with stuff in a home, they just need to learn what that is, what their ability is, what the levels of it is, maybe take some classes. We always recommend some psychic protection techniques or books, and we just stay more of like a counseling role. we don't need to go out and investigate that. Again, it's not ego. We're not trying to go out there to get the best EVP or the best video we can post on our website or online. It's all about the person. So if they're okay with what we did, then the case is over. There's no need to go any further. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to have. A lot of the things I taught over the years, that didn't seem to stick as well as it should have. The questionnaire and the interview and everything are critical, and you're doing a disservice to the client, and you're also putting yourself and the client in danger.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's that lady, at the time I was worried about me and my people, more about me than anybody else at that time. But now when stuff happens, I'm worried about the client too. I should have been then. She was the one that was having, I was just dodging, furniture. She was the one that was something took over her. So she was in a much worse situation than I was. But, and people have to understand, all those little things that go into deciding whether you're going to do a case and how you do the case. And it's a lot more complicated than, I guess, TV and YouTube and everything show it. It makes it look like it's a whole different process, and that's not how you do it. And unfortunately, I know because I clean up after other teams, so that's not a fun thing to do because they've made it worse, and I have to go in and undo what they did most of the time with the client. Because the client now, they have a trust issue. I have to prove to them that we're not going to do what the other team did, and then finally get back to work to what the original problem was. And a lot of the teams mean well. They weren't going in there to be malicious and do anything. They just didn't know better. But they didn't take the time to learn, I think.
They were sort of ill-equipped for that. They weren't. Yeah. It was out of their wheelhouse, and they thought they could take it on. So I know, we won't do residential cases because of kind of that situation. So how do you distinguish genuine sort of paranormal experience versus something that's psychological or environmental, or just some other random explanation that has nothing to do with paranormal?
The questionnaire we do was originally someone from the Warrens gave it to us. It was like 25 questions. It's like 54 questions now. We've added stuff on, and I teach a whole class on it because it takes like 3 or 4 hours to go through what information you get from the questionnaire. So the little dynamic things, you can pick out indicators that it might be something that's a good spirit, a bad spirit, no spirit at all. Mental health issues. The questionnaire is all geared to give you more information than the person realizes that they're giving. Like just counting the number of rooms. They give you a total of rooms, and how many people live in the house. You have one kid and a husband and wife, and there's 3 bedrooms, and all 3 look like they're being lived in and slept in. Well, that to me indicates right away that the husband and wife are not sleeping in the same room, or there's a child coming over that's like a stepchild or coming over to the house maybe once a week or on weekends and staying there. So we would go and look at the stuff to see what's in that room, and that would kind of give us an indication of who's there. And that now gives us a whole dynamic. If it is they're sleeping in separate rooms, why? Because that gets left out of the questionnaire. So obviously there's some dynamic that's going on. Is that a cause or an effect? Did they draw something in because of the negativity, or did they're going through this because of the activity? So that's one question, can give you all that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of layering we go through, and then sit down and talk to them. And a lot of it is there's mental health issues. A lot of it is, but someone can be schizophrenic and still have something happening to them. I don't walk away from any case like that. I know it's harder to do because you have to figure out what's the mental health part of it and what's the spiritual part of it. But if you're going to go in and look at health, it could be physical health too. There could be a medication that they're on that's causing something. you never know. So if you're going to look at one health, you need to look at both anyway. Um, there are times I've encountered where there was no spirits that were interacting, and I would sit down and normally just talk to the person. You know, I'm on medication. I go to therapy. I can relate. So I just dump all my stuff right out on the table. Say, okay, here's what I have. So I am like you, and we can now have this conversation about. I've been on that medication, but I didn't like it. Didn't work for me. How's that one working for you? Kind of. I'm now one of them where if I say, hey, let's make a deal, you take your medication directly or you go back into your doctor and start seeing him again. Well, I'll come back in like 3 months and we'll see what's happening. And if stuff's still going on and you're following all the doctor's orders, we'll start, the case, we'll start dealing with it. So I put the control in their hands, but I never treat them like there's something wrong. Because
that goes a long way.
Yeah, I think too many people in that situation. I know personally, I know a lot of people that are doing it longer than me that will not handle a case at all if there's any kind of mental illness. And I always kid with them. It's like, well, then you don't have any cases, right? We're all mentally ill at some point, Just that depression and anxiety and the medications for that. I mean, that's like the start right there.
Not only that, but like the people who are mentally at risk for things in life are the ones that are more susceptible in a lot of cases to the negative energies that latch onto them. So if it was
absolutely
only happy-go-lucky people that were having demonic attacks, then that would be a totally different story, but they wouldn't have much to feed on. So, oh no, we lost him. Oh no. Ah!
I'm sure he'll pop back.
There we go. All right, we're all back.
We're like,
addicts and people with mental illness and all that, they're more likely to get attacked because they're already compromised in some way. And they're easier targets. So unfortunately, you're going to encounter that a lot more. And I can't leave anyone just hanging there and not getting any help, and have people that are experienced just walk away. Because it's never happened to me, but I can't imagine how horrible that must feel that you found someone that is in the field, can do that work, but just not for you.
Right.
And so I won't turn anybody away. Sometimes there's cases we can't work at all, but we give it our best to see if we can help in any way.
For sure.
That's important. I know Melinda had a question about what is your take on ancestral curses?
Yes. It's a thing. If we'll do just like the cartoon version of it. Someone signs the little document in blood, giving, making a deal with the devil, and they never fulfill their end. They die prematurely or whatever happens, whatever the deal was for, they never pay it. So that's a bill. That bill is inherited by generations until someone's going to pay that off. Whatever this spirit or entity wants, it has nothing but time. So it doesn't care if you're the great, great, great grandson or the grandson. It doesn't matter to them. Eventually, they're going to keep going through the family until they get what they want. That's super difficult if it goes past grandparents, because not many people can talk about their great grandparents or beyond. And doing ancestry.com doesn't count. You're getting a picture and a little information. You're not finding out stuff. So they're harder to figure out. I do remember one that was, this one sticks with me only because of the visuals that started happening. She actually had, it looked like giant fishing hooks on chains, like hooked around and clamped into her heart that were like pulling up like this. And they just kind of appeared in the middle of everything. And that was another case where we were riding along to help Adam do some cases and stuff, and the woman starts talking in other voices and everything. But that was only a great grandmother, and one of the other relatives we talked to said they always referred to her as the witch, but they took it as, bitch. They didn't take it as like literally a witch. And that gave us at least what side of the family to look on and try to do, but ultimately she had to push everything out. She had to do the heavy lifting. We're just trying to help her get to that point. But that's normally they're not that graphic. Normally there's not a lot of visualization, but that which makes them more difficult, because sometimes if you don't have a piece to the puzzle, you don't know exactly, what you don't know. So when you're working a case, if it's something that's hereditary and there's nothing to indicate that, you could be just fruitlessly doing stuff that's not going to work because you're not addressing the actual problem. And unfortunately, that probably accounts for a good percentage of the ancestral ones.
That's crazy. I know you kind of coined the phrase ghost hunting 101. So what is the biggest mistake kind of newer paranormal investigators make today?
One of my pet peeves is, I own the ghost hunter store. I sell the equipment, but there's some equipment that doesn't go in private houses, and you would think it's common sense, but I find that it's not. I feel like I'm the only person like out in the wilderness screaming, ghost boxes, anything that talks does not belong in a private house because you can't control what it says. And anybody that's played with the obelisk or been around any of that stuff, sometimes it says some bad stuff. Yeah, I was doing a library thing with kids, and we were trying to keep the parents occupied. So we put them in another room and gave them an obelisk. And they came running out wanting to grab their kids because it said devil and kill over the obelisk. Now, that happens inside a private house and they hear that. They can't unhear it. You're not going to unring that bell. You are using professional equipment. They view you as the professional. Your electronics said that, so it has to be the devil talking and going to kill them. There's no way you're unringing that. And you just made it a million times worse because their anxiety and the fear is negative emotions. So now if there is anything negative in there, they can fuel it. If there isn't anything negative in there, they can draw it in. All because you wanted to hear some words on your obelisk or ghost box. Even stuff where like the REM pod or anything like that, we bring that into a private house, but I use it completely differently. I'll put it like on the bed, in the middle of the doorway, in the middle of the staircase, almost as like a motion thing. Something going by, it may trigger it. I'll know something's in that area. But I don't go, can you light the blue light up? Can you light the green light up next? I'm not going to teach the spirit in the house how to manipulate electronics, and that we're all okay with that. Do it whenever you want. That kind of violates the whole premise of we're not going to make anything worse when we come into your house. We're not going to stir everything up. But then that's exactly what you're doing when you go in and do that stuff. So it's a lot of equipment that goes and sits in the car or in your basement or wherever you keep it that doesn't go into the private house. And I am
Go investigate somewhere public with that.
That's different. That's when you can do that stuff. That's when, but certain things can be used in both places, like the REM pod and those kind of items. But anything that talks, no. And I would think that would have been common sense, but apparently I am really, really wrong about that because I find it in a lot of cleanup cases. That's one of the things that caused the problem was, they were listening to the radio and the radio was scanning stuff and then it said this and it said that. And even giving people EVPs that you've recorded. If you record an EVP of Get Out, are you giving that to the client?
You better not.
A lot of people will because it's integrity. That's what we got. We're going to give them all the evidence no matter what. And my counter is, are you trying to help them or not? Because giving them Get Out is not going to help the situation. And It's 2 words. It may have been part of the sentence that get out the cards, I want to play poker, which takes a whole different, turn of what it meant. You only got 2 words, but you're inferring now because of what you've seen on TV and movies. Yeah, I picture the priest on the stairs in the end of a horror movie. Get out. The guy runs out the door. Yeah. So you have now again made things worse by just not understanding mental health, side of it, with creating the anxiety and making maybe depression worse. All that we hold sometimes their life in our hands. You don't know how fragile somebody is. You don't know how far along they are. And I hope that no one ever has to go through a client killing themselves, but I did. And I still think a lot that, did we miss something? What did we miss? Now, he lied to us the entire time, including his wife. He had a whole separate life that we found out after he passed away, when she started going through his stuff and found passwords and different message boards he was on. But that still is like a memory. I can still feel that emotion. I've had other clients that one lady, 3 different times she tried to kill herself, and there was nothing we could do. I mean, we can't go over and show up at the house or go to the hospital or anything. We're just waiting for someone to give us information. Did she make it or not? And if you do something wrong, even say something wrong in those situations, you could be the reason why. You could be that last little push over the edge. But people do not think about the gravity of even when it seems like it's just a very simple thing. So did that lady at the house before she started throwing furniture at us. That was a very simple thing, just hearing some knocks and footsteps, no big deal. And next thing you know, it was a big deal. So because you never know, you have to treat every case very, very carefully. Every word you say, everything you send them, all the evidence, any reports you send, all that stuff. I'm a word police when I have people do the reports. I have people that have been working with me for 20 years, and I'll still send the report back saying you can't say that word, just like take that out. There's certain words that trigger, like if you say spirit, it's one thing, but if you say entity, a whole different thing pops in your head. And that's only because of culture. They basically could be the same thing, but one infers something more nasty than saying spirit.
Inhuman,
Right. So words matter with everything too, and it's very tough. I would encourage anyone who wants to go do private houses not to do private houses. If you want to do private houses, then work with people that have.
Yeah.
Or at least, there's classes that people have. There's even like, mentorships. I don't mind if people message me, or I do consultations all the time on cases. And there's no stupid question except the one you didn't ask. So I still ask, John, South's questions, and other people that I meet questions, and to me they seem like stupid questions, but I know I better ask, so I get it from someone who's been doing it longer than me. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that way you're getting at least steered in the right direction. And you don't want to make a lot of the mistakes that people are making now. Even when I see people do stuff and then the client disappears, and they assume, okay, well, they didn't want us to help or something like that. Or maybe they're not around anymore. You don't know. You never followed up. What did you do? What did you say? I get that I go more morbid with it, I guess, but because I've experienced it. But people they don't realize what's hanging in the balance, I guess. Sorry, I went on. I took a real deep dive there.
That's okay.
It got really, really dark all of a sudden.
Happens.
I know Melinda had another question about spirit boards, and that her mother told her never play with them. What's your stance on spirit boards or Ouija boards?
If they're in a house, when we're doing that first visit after we get the questionnaire. And it's actually a question on the questionnaire. Do you have a Ouija board? And people will tell you that they have 2 pounds of marijuana in Jersey, you can have that now. 2 pounds of cocaine in their closet, but they'll lie about having a Ouija board.
Oh,
It's the weirdest thing, but I don't know. But we will find it. You open the closet, it's sitting right there at eye level, and we'll take it. And if we can't remove it from the home, we won't do the case. I had one case where I offered them money to buy it. I said, here's $20, I'll buy the board from you. And they said, no. That's a huge red flag that I don't need to get involved here. But because of the possibility that they're using it and something could come through, because they're being open, they want something to come through.
Right.
It's my analogy I used to use in my classes was, if someone's knocking at your door at 2 a.m., do you just open the door or do you look out the window first? Hopefully you look out the window first. With a Ouija board, there's no window to look out. So you don't know who's knocking or who you're letting in or who you're talking to. And it doesn't matter if it's the board. You could draw the alphabet on the sidewalk in chalk and use a glass to go around. It's the same principle. It's not it's the intent and what you're doing. It's not the actual board itself. But taking that out of the equation eliminates one potential problem down the road, if it's not already a problem. But I've seen Ouija boards that were burned that came all back together again. We're sitting on someone's front step. I've seen Ouija boards that have had blood smeared all over them in rituals. So, I mean, there's things you can do with the board and things the board can do that don't seem to apply to a lot of other things. But I think a lot of that's maybe the energy that we put towards it. Yeah, there is like a stigma to it. I was in Five Below last week, and they sell Ouija boards now, but they have a pink one though. So now they're going for like the sleepovers, the girl sleepovers.
Oh yeah,
that's what we used to do anyway.
What could go wrong? Yeah, right.
Exorcist. Big deal.
But if you think about it, the oracle boards, the oracle boards that they have for archangels and all, it's the same thing. It's the same board. It's doing the same thing. You can invite something negative through that too. I guess it's the most popular one because people know about it from the movies too. But it's easier just to remove it, and then that's not going to be a problem. They're not. I've had people that we've gotten something out of their house, and they used the Ouija board to make sure it was gone, which is crazy thinking. So we got it out of the house. Everything was fine. They opened the Ouija board up and basically opened the door and let it back in.
Come back in, guys.
So we had to go back in and do it.
No.
And that was one of the ones where we had one of the people that was like mentoring us come down, and the advice that they gave them was, burn the house down and move, because you can't, there was a cemetery on the corner. They were digging up stuff in the backyard when they shouldn't have been. It was a mess. They should not be there anymore, and the house shouldn't be there either. It should just be an empty lot. Burn it down, move, and just don't sell that property. Just leave it.
My word.
Bare. But it was because of what they were doing and how they were feeding into it.
Yeah. So do you think like certain places, like certain homes per se might have something like it's the place itself that is containing the negative?
There's a lot of places I've done. Well, Haley, the Pine Barrens. So we've done a lot of cases in the Pine Barrens that it's the ground. There's nothing to do with the house. It's I just call it like it's bad land, and there's nothing you can do because there's no barriers to or boundaries. So I've been with someone that was doing consecrating the ground, and I'm like, well, how far does that go? Is that like a 15-foot consecration, or did you get the extra large 30 feet? Because whatever's in here is going to wait 45 feet and wait for things to cool down and come right back in. A little pissed off because you kicked it out of its home for a while. You didn't do anything to get rid of it or banish it. You just probably angered it and gave the people a false sense of security that the stuff was gone.
Right.
So that's the worst when it's the property, because then a lot of times it's not just a bad entity. Sometimes it's human spirits involved too. Sometimes it's nature spirits involved. And so it's all intertwined and they're almost all working in unison together. So it's like one thing you may be attributing to, the negative spirit might be something like a nature spirit or, a human spirit doing. We have a lot of Native American cases that come up, and those cases, you've built your house on top of their sacred ground. Of course, they're going to be pissed off.
Yeah.
And they tend not to come as one spirit. They're all multiple. So now you have whatever the strength or the ability of one human spirit times 10, because they're all combining their thing together. So they tend to be a little more, they can be destructive. They can definitely be a lot more scary than a normal human spirit would be, just because the negativity and the anger they're putting out. And then that anger attracts in something negative, and it just becomes like something that keeps feeding itself.
Yeah.
But in those cases, moving is really the only option.
Or would you ever call in somebody who is who is a Native American themselves to kind of maybe talk to? Okay.
Years ago, back when I knew everything, I tried to do a Native American ritual too. Someone had it written down from a book. We went and got the tobacco, we get everything. And we were just reading words and following instructions. We didn't believe any of it. So it didn't do anything except really, really anger the spirits. So I won't, if there's any indication that there's Native Americans involved, there's someone that I know that we hand it off to them because they are Native American and they take it from there. So
I have a question about that, because I'm Lenape and a couple other tribes as well. But I've heard that there's some Native beliefs where they think that if you have Native blood, they're more likely to actually come after you, the negative spirits. And I don't know if you've heard that or not, but I'm like, why would you mess with your own people? But I think it's because they're like, well, you're ignorant and you're not respecting our traditions like you should be.
I've never heard that, but that does make what you just said makes perfect sense. You should know better is the kind of thing. You should know better and you don't. So here's a lesson for you. That kind of thing. I can see that as making somebody a target.
Right.
Definitely.
I worked on a film where it was Val cryptid, the SW one that I don't want to say because I've had it said out loud too many times, but they're like, yeah, so if you're out in the woods and the SWs are going to be out there, they're going to come for you first because you should know better than being out here. I'm like, no, I'm just trying to work on a film. Like, that's not fair, but I mean, I get it. We should know better, and we're just not doing it. But
see, now that's a little tidbit of knowledge that I got to put aside and remember, because that may come up one day where that may be the reason, that may be the whole trigger, the piece of the puzzle that you're missing. That may be the puzzle piece.
You're like, you didn't listen. We're after you. You're in timeout. Oh, man.
Exactly.
Wow. I had another question. I know since you've been in the field for so long, what's the biggest question in paranormal investigation, and what do you think we're still getting completely wrong about the phenomenon?
I think we misread a lot of things. We go in with our belief system or our tunnel vision, and we make everything that happens fit into that scenario and that story. It like using a ghost box. I can turn it on right now. I have a whole conversation with an intelligent spirit. Only it was me asking questions, getting a word that's not really related, but I make it fit and carry on this whole conversation when that never occurred. It's the same thing with people ask me when with the store, I want a piece of equipment that finds ghosts. And my answer is always, me too. I would love one that finds ghosts because I don't have any. 700 different things I sell. I don't have one that finds ghosts. I have stuff that finds anomalies that shouldn't be there, like electromagnetic fields that shouldn't be there, or something messing with the proximity sensor. But we're assuming that's a spirit.
Right.
And sometimes it may be, but other times it may be something that is just out of sight, or maybe coming from the neighbor's house, or some of the equipment can even be messed with by like the police radios in like the city. They're bouncing all over the antennas. That can mess with REM pods at times. We had a local ambulance company that whenever they would get the call, the REM pod would go off. So if you don't know that it's going off at the time, I mean that the ambulance is getting a call, you would think you're talking to a spirit because there's no reason that you can see that there's going off. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt. And then if you're sitting there staring at your equipment, waiting for all the pretty lights to light up, what's happening on either side of you or behind you? You don't know, because you're shutting down the best part of it, best piece of equipment you have, which is you. And you're focusing on this thing that at the very best is going to let you know something is happening that shouldn't be. That's all we know. Now we can extrapolate from there that it's related to spirits, but we don't know that for sure. So you have to kind of build. I use the equipment, I use the evidence like EVPs and then psychic impressions and things that people see, and put that all together to come up with a picture of what may be happening. Alone, I could be a crazy guy just seeing things, and the REM pod could be going off because they didn't turn the Wi-Fi off. I mean, we don't know, but putting this together makes it more coherent. And I see that people don't do that. They'll run around with an EVP. Okay, you got an EVP. Is that the spirit that's causing the problem in the house? Or is that just another spirit that happened to be there and wanted to talk? You don't know.
Exactly.
You absolutely have no way of knowing that, but you're assuming because you recorded it is the spirit that is the problem. How do we get there? There's no way that should ever be the conclusion, but yet it almost always is, because that's all we know. We only know there's the spirit doing this, so any spiritual stuff and activity has to be attributed to that one spirit, when that's not the case. We get the tunnel vision and the blinders on, and everybody, all of us fall into that trap. But
yeah,
I think that,
and I think that
Right?
it could be some of our own. I think it could be some of our own. Like we may have spirits that are attached to us that follow
Absolutely.
us around from location to
Absolutely.
location. It could be them trying to communicate with us through the equipment. So
yeah. So if that's the only time you have your equipment out, that's the only opportunity that they have to communicate. So when I use the portal with the ghost box, I get my name said multiple times every session. So I mean, that's something that's checking in and talking to me, that's unrelated to the location, because it's always different locations. So it's like a switchboard. So yeah, I definitely think that it's other spirits that are outside of the circumstances that are happening that we pick up on the equipment. We just have no way to tell the difference.
and what happens if you have somebody like a client maybe who is sensitive, like they have some kind of abilities as well, and they may not fully know it yet? Do you
That's
find
definitely
that?
Yeah, that happens a lot. That's something, no investigation needed. They know what's happening, and the people in the group that are sensitive too, that they do too. So we can all agree on what's happening. Now we have to kind of get them point them in the right direction of learning about the ability, how to. I can't block mine. I can I can shut it down a little bit and kind of shelter it a little bit, but I can't totally turn it off. But to learn little techniques like that and psychic protection, so that way when you're going certain places, say if you're like more empathic, you know that, you know, going certain places may cause you problems. So being able to protect yourself, you know, would be beneficial. So all little things like that. There's books we recommend, depending on where they are. There's almost always somebody that I know that's doing like psychic development, or, you know, mediumship 101 or something along those lines. So that's kind of where we would point that. But that's a large amount of cases actually. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really fascinating. So do you like ever go and investigate just for fun, like to a location?
I like history. So
Okay.
any place that's one of the great things about doing what we do. We get into places that we're after hours. We are usually allowed more access than the public is given. So we get in places and get to see things that the general public doesn't see. We did Fort Ticonderoga years and years ago. They wanted to see, before they went on taps, ghost hunters, they wanted someone to come out and see, so they could see what it was like having a big investigation. So we went out there, and you know, it's a huge like castle fort on this cliff. That's beautiful, but it was built on top of an original fort that was just like picket fencing. And me and the director were the only ones still up around 3 a.m. So he goes, "Come here, I want to show you something." So we walk down a hallway and we go into what was like a broom closet. And I'm thinking like, what? He's going to kill me and then throw me off the cliff. I mean, what's going on? You know? And we walk in,
One ghost.
and there's this old wooden fence sitting there in the middle. He goes, "Yeah, go touch that." And he goes, "Yeah, whatever year it was from, like the 15 or 16, early 1600s, that was like the first picket fence at the very first fort there."
Wow.
No one gets to see that, let alone touch it, and get like. And you get the guy who's running, taking you on a private tour to see it. That's all because I didn't fall asleep during the ghost hunt. So you get to see some cool stuff. So that's what and then I turn into the paranormal investigator. But I'll be honest with you, when I first go someplace, I am walking around my flashlight, reading all the plaques or looking at all the historical stuff, you know, because it's, you know, it's cool. It makes it more interesting. You're not just going in an old historic building that has old furniture in it and there's nothing else, because there's a million of them, you know, and I can get boring very quick. But when there's something that's, you know, more history tied to it, and then you have questions to ask. When you do EVP sessions, you now have a whole story of things you can start asking that are related to the building or items in it, and that makes it more fun for me anyway.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree. That's one of my favorite parts about it too, is the history. Is there any other, like, any location that you would like especially like to get to that you've never been, and actually go and investigate and try to get some answers?
I love Masonic halls.
Yes.
I've been able to. We used to train in one. We had someone in the group that was friends with someone that just gave us total access in Woodbury, and that one's not there anymore. But that was great. And then we had someone that was a Mason that allowed us in. So I've done about 8 different Masonic halls, and what's neat is the energy that's in there when you're in that meeting room is identical in each one. It feels exactly the same. I mean, I think you could just close your eyes and just take me to one, and I couldn't tell you which one we were at, because that energy that's there is just incredible. So we've always been eyeing up the main lodge in Philadelphia on Broad Street, and we've had people that have been members there. We had when the boxes were coming to the house from one of the mailmen, saw the ghost hunter stir thing on it, so we started talking, and it turns out that he was a Knights Templar, and he had access to that, so he went in and tried to get us in. So we haven't been able to pull the right string to get in there to do an investigation, but I would like to do that one because of just the amount of years it's been used compared to all the other ones. That's got to have to, and the building, what it's made out of, and that's got to be some incredible energy. I can just picture like floating off the ground and that kind of energy. It's so that's definitely that's near the top of my bucket list, I think.
Awesome.
You'll have to come here because we've got a huge one in town, and the upstairs, there's a room that you are told just don't go in there because you will feel things, and it's 100% true. It's all red. There's like an altar sort of in there, and yeah, there is something that lives up there.
Yeah, it's weird because I've done churches. I've done almost every denomination you can think of, with the exception of a Catholic church. And you would think that like Episcopal, Lutherans, where they all have the same kind of church, the altar and everything, they're almost identical. You think that you would go in these certain places and feel that same energy, but I never have. I've never felt the identical thing in any of the churches, but the Masonic Hall you do. And I always want, like, what the hell are they really doing in here that's creating this much energy? I mean, I understand the whole concept with the columns and everything, and why it's built the same way with all the different angles and the steps it takes to walk across everything. I got all that. That still doesn't account for why there's that kind of energy in there, and why is it the same exact energy everywhere. What's that?
Do you think it's the rituals they do, like the specific ones that
that would be common? It has to be a common denominator. So the ritual would be the only common denominator. But I mean, we don't know exactly everything they do.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, the little bit we do know doesn't seem like anything that would be like suddenly. I can't imagine what it would be like when they're actually doing it. If that much energy's in there when no one's there,
Right.
well, if you're in the heart of what they're doing in there, I can't imagine how strong that energy must be. Maybe that's the draw why people join. It's something about feeling that kind of energy. But I've never been any place, like type of place, that's felt the same thing everywhere you go. Like I've been in schools, different things. They all feel different. Libraries all feel different. Masonic halls do, which is what's cool about them.
It's fascinating. Well, wow, we've already gone through the hour.
This happens a lot with me because I don't shut up.
Oh no, we're
great.
so locked in.
Yes,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah. But before we let you go, where can people find you, the store, all of that kind of stuff? Because I know I'm going to have like way more questions after I digest what we talked about tonight.
The best way to get a hold of me, honestly, is on social media, through the Ghost Hunter store or Dave Juliano. There's a David Juliano, but that's like one of those fan pages things, and I never look on there. Started it years ago and just let it go. But it's ghosthunterstore.com. There's davejuliano.com. Emails, I get a lot of emails, so sometimes I miss that. So definitely, like, sending me messages through social media is the easiest way to get a hold of me. And then there's events coming up. I know this weekend I'm going to be in Gettysburg at the Power Jam, and we were just talking about the other event that's going to be in Scranton, which I have to. I'm cheating. I am cheating. I'm looking to Underworld. Yes. I'm looking to see what the dates were exactly, so Clarissa won't yell at me.
It's like September.
September 18th, 19th, and 20th up in Scranton, and that's a huge lineup of people.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around exactly what's going to happen in there, because it's almost like it's cloaked in mystery, to where you got to be. It's making you want to go just to see what the hell it is. Why are all these people here, and how do they all fit together? So that might be the plan, because I'm definitely curious to what's going on. And I also run events with hauntedexplorations.com. I think there's still a couple of events coming up before the end of the year. So I'm all over the place. I'm just all spread out. If you text me on social media though, or at the store's phone number, you're going to get a hold of me. That's the best way to do it. And if anyone has any questions, I like helping. I like teaching, so I'm happy to help.
Well, thank you.
Excellent.
You're
We
wonderful.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can leave our folks with one thought maybe to carry them through the next week, what would that be?
Never become a demonologist.
All right,
Done.
done.
Yeah, I know.
That's my advice.
I have a hard bargain with that one.
Just run the opposite direction.
Oh, thank you.
Excellent. Well, Dave, thank you so much again for joining us. Everybody else, if you were new to us tonight, please like, share, and subscribe. Hype us up. If you are watching this tomorrow, please leave us some comments as well. It really helps us kind of get to come back and see maybe what we missed or what we can talk about on a future Thursday. Yeah, so please leave us those comments. You can get us all over the socials as well. Get out and see Rachel this weekend. You can see Haley all over. She's done some cover songs this week. If you have not seen those on her Facebook, please go over there and check those out. Still have an opportunity. Yeah, Melinda, hit the like button. Still have an opportunity to get your launch box for AG Mox. What Big Lies You Have. You guys know he is our official author, so please pre-order his book, get the launch box.
It's amazing. You won't regret it.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. You have to read this book. And then go read all of AG's other books. But yes, Dave, again, thank you so much. We will see all of you next Thursday. My sisters, thank you so much. I love you.
Love you.
Good night, guys.
Guys.
Bye.